Hello, and welcome back to another gardening video. Now, in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to prepare and then plant an entire flower patch. And I'm going to be giving you step-by-step instructions of everything you need to do this, and everything you should do, and then I'll show you, and then we'll get the final result at the end. And we've only got a few plants, so it's probably going to fill about half of the flower patch, but it should be quite exciting when it's finally done. So let's get right into it. So what do you need now that you're at the stage when you've just got a bare patch with maybe raggedy earth and bits of stones and stuff like that? Well, first of all, you need a little trowel for digging holes and maybe getting big stones out, and also for digging up weeds if you come across any when you're digging up the patch. Then secondly, you need some gardening gloves for if you were picking up spiky weeds or if you just don't like getting your hands dirty. And then thirdly, this is an optional one, if you have a spade or a shovel, then you can use that to help kind of dig over the earth and maybe dig up big lumps of earth. And then fourthly, you need a watering can or a hose pipe so that when you put the plants in, you can give them a thorough watering afterwards. So today I'm going to be planting a few different plants. I'm going to be planting 2 pots of lupin, a nice pink peony plant, and then a big tub of sweet peas that I'm going to try and trellis up the back of the fence. So, now that we've seen all the plants we're going to use, we've got all the tools we need, I'm now just going to try and flatten it and fill in any holes I can with this slightly bigger spade. So I'm just going to get little chunks and there's a little hole there, and then I'll just kind of smooth it out. And if you want, you can also use a rake to do this, and that might be a little bit easier, but there's just some kind of drifts of earth here that I want to kind of spoon up. There we go, so we've mostly flattened it, and if when you're coming back after you've weeded, or if there's no need to weed, then just have a trowel at the handy in case you suddenly find a weed that you need to dig up. So, the next step after you've weeded and then flattened the growing area is you can either put some new compost on the space that you're going to grow in, or you can just leave it with the original soil. It's up to you, and it depends how much compost you might have with you. Okay, so the next step is we're now going to choose what flowers we want to go where. And this is completely up to you, but you might have to take into consideration what plants like what. So if they like shady areas, if they like sunny areas, how much sun they need, things like that. And you can just research that on Google by just looking up what the plant's called and what conditions it likes. So, with the sweet peas, I'm going to grow some up the trellis that we already have, and then I'm also going to plant them all the way along this back bit here, and then when they get bigger I'm going to try and climb them up this trellis, and then it will just be like a wall of colourful, nice smelling flowers. And then with this peony, I'm going to put this about here, so that when it grows up, it can just bush out this entire area, and I'm giving it enough space from the rose bush that hopefully that's enough, and it will just take up this whole space and be a really nice thing. And we've grown peonies in this bed before, so we know the soil good, and the location is pretty ideal as well. And then finally, these 2 little lupin plants, we're probably just going to put them around about here, and might spread them like this. Yeah, so that's roughly what I'm going to do. And for example, these are all quite big plants, but if you have any small kind of bedding plants, so pansies, lobelia, they're the best kind of ones, then it can be quite nice to have like a row of them at the front or in between bigger plants, and that can just finalise your flower patch. And I am going to do that, but I'm going to do that later on in the year when we get some more plants. So, the final step now is to actually get the plants in the ground, and we're going to start with the peony plants and then we'll move on to the others. So you can see the size of the peony pot is fairly large. It's probably about a foot wide, just under a foot, and then just maybe just under a foot deep as well. So the hole that we're going to make is going to be a little bit bigger than the diameter and a little bit deeper than the height, and that will make sure that it will go in as good as it wants and it will have plenty of space. And to do this, I'm going to use this small kind of spade. It's almost like a large trowel, and so I'll just mark with the peony pot where I want it to go, and then when there's a little circular marking, I'll then get my spade trowel thing and press it down into the ground with my foot, and then lift up a bit of soil like this. And if your soil's especially dry, then you might want to give it a quick water to help with the digging, and also help for when you put the plant in, there'll already be a little bit of water down. There we go, so we've managed to dig a fairly large hole. It now goes almost like, you can see, quite far down. So we're now going to try and put the peony plant in, and if it doesn't quite fit, then we'll just have to dig the hole a little bit bigger. And I'll put it with its pot in first, just to check that it fully fits, and then if it does, I'll take it out of the pot. There we go, so it fits. So now we know that it fits, and we can now just take it out of the pot. And if you want to see what it's going to look like when it's older, it will have these amazing flowers like this. So to get a plant out of its pot, it's quite simple. You simply just lay it down like this, and then just give it a little squeeze and tip it upside down, and it should just come straight out. And there we go, we've got a lovely peony plant. And so we'll put this in the ground like this. Just lower it gently in, and then get all the earth that we dug up. Might have to crumble some of it if it's in big lumps, and then just pour it back into the hole. Pour it into the gaps in the hole from the big hole we made, and make like a little shallow kind of crater, tiny little crater just around the outside of it, and then pile earth around that crater, and then when we water it, the water will pool towards the centre, and it will get a little bit more water than if we didn't. So I'll show you what I mean when I've done it. There we go, so we've planted the peony plant in really nicely there, and I've just put the tag in the ground in front of it so we remember what it is. And now all we have to do is give it a good watering. And if you can see, I've made kind of like a dip that leads to it with little surrounding walls, and this means that when I water it, you can see here, the water kind of pools towards the middle and won't escape. And even if this kind of barrier disappears after a little while, it's just this early stage. It needs quite a lot of water while its roots develop. But you can see that little crater formation made quite a good difference. So there we go. We've now planted the peony. And so now I'll just set about doing the loop-in, and for the loop-in it's the exact same principle. So I'll show you how it looks when it's finished, and then I have to do the sweet peas, and I'll show you how that looks when it's done, but other than that we're finished. And there we go, we're all done. As you can see, all the plants are in really nicely. We've got the little loop-in plant there, the big loop-in plant here, then the peony at the end there, and then I've got 6 little clumps of sweet peas going all the way along the back, and when they grow up, I'll then climb them up this trellis fence, and it should look really, really nice. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and maybe found it quite helpful as well. And yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.